This week's portion begins like this. Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim, that Yaakov lived in the land of Egypt, 17 shanim, 17 years. Vayehi yimei Yaakov shnei chayv sheva shanim. This is the life of Jacob. It was 7 years, 40 year, u'ma'as shan, and 100 years. Vayikirvu yimei Yisrael lamos. And the time approached for Israel to pass on. So the Torah switches from the life, this is the life of Jacob, giving Yaakov the name Yaakov, and then it switches to the name Yisrael, Vayikirvu yimei Yisrael lamos, that the days of Israel were approaching his death. So the obvious question is, why does the Torah say that he lived as Jacob, and as he's dying as Israel? This is one question. Another question is, it's very interesting, in contrast to all the other patriarchs and matriarchs, which mentions the names and gives a description of the years, how long they lived, in contrast to all the other ones, which would, let's say, for example, Sarah. So it would say that Sarah lived 127 years. So we start off with the higher number, the larger number, and then it goes to this more specific number, which is 20 and then 7. With Jacob, it's actually the reverse. First it says that he lived 7 years, then 40, and then 100. So it starts with a detail, with the smaller number, and then goes to the larger number, to the 100. Why? So the Zohar in this week's portion draws a contrast between the prophetic insight that Jacob experienced and the insight that all the other patriarchs and matriarchs experienced. The Zohar says that one is a vision the way a person would see through clear glass, just looking through a window, and one is the way a person would see through a mirror, which is a reflection. Now the difference between a mirror and a glass is that a glass you're seeing forward, and in a mirror you're looking backward. So let's understand what the difference between these two ideas are. Yaakov and Yisrael, Jacob and Israel, the Zohar tells us in a previous portion, also represents two names of Hashem. Hashem, which is the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey, which represents infinity. And Elokim, which is a plural name for Hashem, which represents the name Hashem, how Hashem is vested within creation, within time and space. So there's one aspect which is connected with the dimensions of time and space, and the continuous flow of time and space, a multiplicity of time and space, and one is connected with the unity of time and space. There are two or three ways we can live. First level of life, of living, is when we live within the details of our life. We'll give Hebrew descriptions for this. One is called a prat, which is a detail, and one is called a klal, which is a general principle. Most people live, we'll call level number one. Level number one living is, there's a lot of things going on in your life, a lot of different details. You're part-time a father, part-time a mother, part-time a son, part-time a daughter, part-time a lover, part-time a doctor, part-time a lawyer. There's many different things going on in your life, and it's sporadic and chaotic. And you're trying to find time. You know, when you're a father, you're trying to be a good father. When you're a mother, you're trying to be a good mother. And there's always a conflict of interest if I should be a better husband or a better wife or a better mother or a better child. And there's a lot of different details going on in your life. And then even in more general terms, there's a lot of different specific things going on in your life. This thing happens throughout the day. You meet this person, you meet that person, by chance this thing occurs to you and the other thing occurs to you. And when you consciously reflect on your life, you see there's hundreds of thousands and millions of different details in my life, and they all seem to be unrelated with the next. Why do all these things come together? And you're not really sure. That's one way that we live life, and we're just stuck in the details of these little minutiae that we're living through, and we do the details and we don't see a greater picture. That's one way of living. The other way of living, which is a more evolved level, is obviously there's a lot of different details in our life, but once in a while we see that all the different small details in our life, I met this person at this time because I missed the train, I missed the plane, and I encountered that person, but because of this, that, and the other, small little things that seem to be unrelated with the next, they led to this great purpose in my life, this great unfolding in my life. I'm married because of so many small little coincidences. I'm in this job because of so many small coincidences. And my life purpose is being fulfilled because of all these small different differences that happen, small different aspects that happen in my life. So what you do then is that you see details, many different details, and once in a while you see how the details lead to a greater principle, which is the klal. I have a purpose in my life. I want to do this certain thing, and I realize that all these small things lead up to this one great thing in my life. That's second level of living. Third level of living is when we live with a certain purpose. I live because I want to achieve a certain thing. I want to do a certain thing. My purpose is this general principle. This is what I want to achieve. Then, because I want to achieve this certain purpose, I go through all the details of the day, and all the details of my life, I try and I aspire to make them work into that great purpose that I want to reach. So, again, one is when your life seems completely chaotic. There's this many different details unrelated to the next. Stage number 2 is when you see how all the details in your life lead up to certain principles, to certain purposes. Stage number 3 is when you see the purpose to begin with, and then you work on all the details to reach that purpose. These are 3 ways of living. The upper 2 levels is the difference between living through a mirror or living through a clear glass. When you live life in a mirror, you're living life forward and understanding it backward. So you look back at your life and you reflect, you say, it's so interesting that all these things happened today, all these things happened in the last year, and it made me reach this certain point in my life. And I'm happy to be in that place. And I realize that there's a purpose in me being in this place. But you're only seeing it retroactively. You're seeing that the all small little details that didn't really make sense why they happened, when they happened, but now that I reach a certain point, a purpose in my life is being fulfilled, I look back as a mirror, looking backward and saying, oh, that makes sense. That's stage number 2. Stage number 3 is when you're looking through a clear glass. You look through a clear glass and say, I want to achieve this. This is my purpose. This is my tikkun. This is my sole purpose. I want to do this thing in my life. I'm going to try to work all these details in my life to reach that point. This is what the Torah subtly is saying is the difference between Jacob and the other patriarchs. The other patriarchs experienced prophecy. Jacob experienced dreams. The difference between prophecy and a dream is a prophetic insight into life is when it's clear. It's clear this is what I have to achieve. A dream state is when things are not 100% clear. But you know there's something going on. There's something indicating to you that there's some larger purpose that has to be unfolding in my life, but you're unclear what it is. In order to reach from stage 2, which is only retroactively seeing the details in your life, reaching to a certain point, to go to stage 3, which is to truly live a realized life where all the details that you're doing in your life is geared towards reaching that purpose, is to live very deeply on stage 2 for a while, to every day meditate on your day, reflect about your day, and say, all these things that seem unrelated, look where they led to. And when you see those things leading you into a certain direction, then you know, wow, that's my purpose. That's really my tikkun. That's where my soul, my purpose is being drawn towards, to articulate those aspects of life that I keep on being drawn to, the positive and the overcoming of those negative. And that's my larger purpose.